The Christmas that changed everything. Margaret stood at her kitchen window, watching December snow drift past the streetlights. At 68, she'd learned that the holidays could bring both joy and heartbreak, sometimes in the same breath. Her daughter-in-law, Jessica, had called that morning. The conversation still echoed in Margaret's mind. I'm so sorry, Jessica had said, her voice tight. We're doing a smaller Christmas this year. Just immediate family. Margaret had felt the words like a physical blow. She was immediate family. She'd raised Robert, Jessica's husband, as a single mother after his father left. She'd been there for every milestone, every scraped knee, every triumph. I understand, dear, Margaret had replied softly, though she didn't understand at all. After hanging up, Margaret sat in her favorite armchair for a long time. 35 years she'd lived in this house. Robert had grown up here, learned to ride his bike in that driveway, brought Jessica home for the first time through that front door. Something shifted inside her then. Not anger exactly, but clarity. She picked up her phone and dialed her mortgage company. She'd been paying Robert and Jessica's mortgage for 3 years now, ever since Robert's business hit rough waters. $5,000 every month, quietly transferred, never mentioned at family gatherings. I need to stop automatic payments, she told the representative. Then she called the catering company. She'd already paid the deposit for Christmas dinner at Robert and Jessica's house, wanting to make things easier for them. Another $2,000. I'd like to cancel my order, please. The week before Christmas, Margaret's phone rang constantly. She let most calls go to voicemail. Robert's voice grew increasingly frantic with each message. The bank called. They said the mortgage payment didn't go through. There must be some mistake. Then Jessica. Margaret, the caterer said you cancelled? What's going on? Margaret waited 3 days before calling back. When she did, her voice was steady, calm. Hello, Robert. What's happening? Did something happen to your account? Nothing happened to my account, sweetheart. I'm just doing what you asked. Smaller Christmas. Immediate family only. The silence on the other end was long and heavy. I didn't know Jessica said that to you. Didn't you? Margaret heard muffled voices. Then Jessica came on the line. Margaret, I can explain. My mother wanted to come, and she said things about you. And I just thought you thought it would be easier without me there. Jessica's voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. Margaret looked around her quiet house. The Christmas tree she put up stood in the corner, decorated with ornaments spanning for decades. Pictures of Robert covered the mantle, from baby photos to his wedding day. Jessica, I've learned something in my years. Love isn't just about the good times. It's about showing up, even when it's inconvenient. It's about remembering who stood by you when times were hard. She paused, letting her words settle. I paid your mortgage for 3 years because I love my son. I wanted to help during difficult times. But love is a two-way street. When you told me I wasn't immediate family, you broke something. Robert got back on the phone. Please. Come for Christmas. We need you there. I need you there. Do you, Robert? Or do you need my money? That's not fair, Margaret's voice softened. You're right. I'm sorry. That was unkind. She took a deep breath. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to visit my friend Dorothy in Vermont for Christmas. She's been alone since her husband passed, and she could use the company. But let me finish. When I come back, we're going to sit down, all 3 of us, and have an honest conversation about family and respect and what we mean to each other. If you want me in your life, truly in your life, then we'll figure out how to move forward. But I won't be treated as an obligation or worse, as just a checkbook. The days before Christmas, Margaret packed her bags. She'd called Dorothy, who'd been delighted at the prospect of company. As she loaded her car, she noticed Robert's truck pulling into her driveway. He got out slowly, looking older than his 42 years. He'd been crying. I've been an awful son. Margaret waited. Jessica told me everything about her mother's comments, about how she made you feel unwelcome. But I'm the one who should have noticed. I'm the one who should have put my foot down. He stepped closer. I got so caught up in my own problems, in trying to keep the business afloat, that I forgot the most important thing. You've always been there. Always. And I took that for granted. Margaret felt her resolve softening, but held steady. I found something, Robert continued, pulling out his phone. I was going through old photos last night. He showed her a picture from 20 years ago, Margaret standing in a hospital room, holding newborn Robert Jr., her grandson, with such tenderness. You were the first person besides me and Jessica to hold him. You drove through a snowstorm to be there. Do you remember what you said? Margaret's eyes grew misty. I said, family shows up. Family shows up, Robert repeated. You told me that. And I forgot. He took an envelope from his pocket. This is the key to our house. I talked to Jessica. We want you to hold onto it. Not because of money, but because we want you to know you're not just part of this family, MOM. You're the foundation of it. Margaret opened the envelope with trembling hands. We can't pay you back right now, Robert said. But we will, every cent. And MOM, Jessica is in the car. She was too ashamed to come to the door, but she's writing letters to you every day about what you mean to her, about how she failed you. Margaret looked past Robert and saw Jessica in the passenger seat, tears streaming down her face. She's young, Margaret said quietly. She's still learning. We're both learning, Robert said. Will you teach us? Margaret stood there, this woman who'd weathered so many storms, who'd raised a son alone, who'd loved fiercely and sometimes been hurt for it. She thought about revenge and vindication, about the satisfaction of teaching harsh lessons. But she thought more about Christmas mornings with a small boy opening presents, about teaching Robert to tie his shoes, about the day he'd introduced her to Jessica with such pride in his eyes. You know what, son? Dorothy can wait one more year. Robert's face lit up with hope. But we're doing this my way. Christmas dinner at my house. And Jessica's mother is invited too. It's time we all learned how to be a real family. She reached up and touched his face, the way she'd done when he was small. You hurt me, Robert. Both of you did. But family isn't about never hurting each other. It's about having the courage to make things right. That Christmas, Margaret's house overflowed with family. Jessica's mother, Dorothy, came too. Margaret had insisted. She watched as Jessica and her mother worked together in the kitchen, slowly beginning to mend their own complicated relationship. Robert carved the turkey, and little Robert Jr. chatted about school. The house smelled of cinnamon and pine and second chances. They sat down to dinner. Margaret looked around the table. This messy, imperfect, beautiful family. Before we eat, she said, I want to say something. Everyone grew quiet. I could have spent this Christmas alone, nursing hurt feelings. I could have let pride and pain win. But I've learned something in my 68 years. She paused, her eyes touching each face. Love is a choice we make every day. It's choosing forgiveness over resentment. It's choosing to show up, even when it's hard. And it's remembering that the people we love will sometimes disappoint us, just as we sometimes disappoint them. Jessica reached across and took her hand. But here's the secret, Margaret continued. The disappointments make the love mean more, because real love isn't about perfection. It's about staying, about trying again, about believing that people can grow and change. She raised her glass. To family. The one we're born into and the one we choose to be. To family. They echoed later, as Margaret washed dishes. With Jessica, her daughter-in-law spoke quietly. I'll never forget what I did. Or how kind you were in the end. Margaret handed her a towel. Then don't forget. Remember it. Let it make you better. Let it teach you to think about who might be standing at the edges, waiting to be included. Snow fell softly outside. As the evening wound down, Margaret stood at her window again. But this time, she wasn't alone. Robert came and put his arm around her shoulders. Merry Christmas, MOM. Merry Christmas, my boy. She'd learned that revenge could be sweet, but grace was sweeter. That sometimes the strongest thing you could do was walk away, and sometimes it was choosing to walk back. That family wasn't about who showed up when everything was easy. It was about who stood beside you when everything was hard. And as she watched her family through the reflection in the window, laughing and loving and learning together, Margaret knew she'd made the right choice. Not the easy choice, but the right one. Because that's what love demanded. And love, she'd learned, was always worth it.